Hello fellas, Cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing a film that came out in 1994 entitled Chungking Express. This was the first time I got to see it. It was directed by Wong Kar-wai and starred Bridget Lin, Faye Wong and Tony Leung. And it really looks at the story of two lonely police officers who don't really know each other, and we look at them searching for love. And the film is broken up into two parts. The first police officer we do meet he's a detective, and his name's Quasi. Hung up on a girl called May. Now they obviously had a relationship, but she has stopped speaking to him, and he's trying to make sense of things. And each night he goes to this particular takeaway shop and makes a phone call trying to get to talk to her, which never transpires. He starts to get obsessed with this and trying to make things right. So as he's pining after this particular woman, he meets a femme fatale kind of character. A mysterious woman that he sort of finds intriguing and interesting. They both come from different worlds, and he doesn't know who she is and she doesn't really know who he is. They have a particular conversation, end up in a hotel room where ultimately she falls asleep and he just sits there eating dinner. So he continues to search for this sort of thing, and one night at the takeaway shop he meets another girl. Now this is where the film skips into the second storyline with the other police officer and with the girl that he does meet. So what ties them together is this takeaway shop that ties both stories together. So we meet another cop. He's a beat cop. At the point we meet him, he's dating a flight attendant, and as he goes to he gets dinner at this takeaway place every night, and this is where the story takes an interesting twist, where the girl behind the counter becomes fascinated by him, wants to know more about him. Ultimately the relationship between him and the flight attendant doesn't work, and she leaves him a note and the keys at the takeaway place because she knows that's where he usually frequents. The girl behind the counter ends up taking the letter and reading it and taking his keys. But when he comes to get the letter, she gives him the letter but keeps the keys. And what transpires is a really funny and interesting thing. She ends up going into his apartment and changing things, trying to make things better for him in a way. Changing the particular shoes that he wears with a different colour, putting fish in the empty fish tank, cleaning, sort of living this mysterious life without him knowing about it. And these are really, really funny moments that transpire within these sort of scenes. And once he becomes interested in her, then she should lose interest in him in a way, and then she disappears to California because she's obsessed with California and the music, some scenes where there's really loud music being played. And then when she comes back, the takeaway shop is no more, and the young police officer has actually taken it over and doing renovations to open it up again. And so it sort of leaves it at the point where these two may or may not end up together. Look, I found this film really interesting. It's a film I've been trying to get my hands on for a long time. It is hard to find. And the director is very well known for making movies without really a script. He just sort of makes it up as he goes along. My Blueberry Nights was another film he did the exact same thing. He has this particular way. He likes the gangster and interesting underworld figures in his film, and there's always a love story. So this felt like a noir film, especially with the femme fatale character at the start with a blonde wig and the trench coat and glasses. And it ultimately feels like a neo-noir romance in a way. It doesn't have all the beats, and it isn't as violent as your normal noir films, but there is a mystery there, and there are the cops, and each character has their own voiceover, which reminds me a lot of the old detective novels that Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett used to write, and it just sort of feels like that. And you can feel the spontaneous moments and the ideas that he's working out within those particular scenes, but it works really well. He has a really great eye for detail and some really great music choices. He uses really fascinating and interesting songs, particular scenes in the film. And also, Tarantino's been quoted as saying he's one of his favourite filmmakers, and you can tell Tarantino's been quite inspired by him in a variety of different ways. Similar way to the music that Tarantino uses in his films. It felt like more like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction than any other Tarantino film, but also how Tarantino uses particular songs for movies like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and how well that works within it. And he doesn't really use a composer. This director's Wong's very similar in the way he makes films as well. Interesting music, interesting characters. There isn't a lot of scripted stuff, so there's a lot of improvisation happening, and the characters are really interesting and fascinating within the film. And the other thing that sort of glues you in, much like Pulp Fiction, it's not really the circumstances that are really fascinating or interesting or different, it's really the characters. And you watch the characters go through these situations, these normal situations, and it's really fantastic to see. It's well shot. He uses different techniques and ideas to shoot things, a lot of reflection stuff, sort of sped up things with a lot of effects. It's really, really well done. And the voiceover really adds to it. And I was just immersed in this film. I loved it from beginning to end. And it's a film I'd love to get a copy of and watch over and over again because there's a lot in it. Even the director of Moonlight has talked about how great the film is. And it's really one that should be seen, I think, by a wider audience. You forget about the subtitles. When a film is really interesting and fascinating with a good solid story and interesting characters, you forget these subtitles and you just go along the journey. And this film is one of those sort of movies. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Final verdict. I think this is a really great, fantastic film. It's well made, well put together. The acting's really good. The music choices are fantastic. It's wonderfully shot, and it's just an engaging and fascinating story and film. And it's really inspiring in a lot of ways what he's able to accomplish with no script and just improvising dialogue and situations as they go along is just really fascinating. Look, I don't know if this film's going to be for everyone, but anyone who's a fan of cinema and really good directing and acting and great creation of worlds and characters, you'll thoroughly enjoy this. Look, I'm going to give this film 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was brilliant and well done, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and was really refreshing and interesting and unique. And it's good to see that there are still films out there that are still really interesting and well made and can keep your attention and are really fascinating to watch. And yet again, like I said, it came out in '94, so a lot of '90s films are really fantastic. They don't make them as good. They don't make films as good now as they did in the '90s, which I think is one of the best eras of cinema. A lot of great films came out of that, and I think this is definitely one of them. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.